bullies that when you're young, even younger, you have 10-year-olds, 7-year-olds. Kids know this stuff out of the cradle, out of the womb. Girls are a perfect example, and for young women too, who believe that simply because they are girls, girls are given empathy out of the box or out of the womb. They have empathy out of the womb. Empathy is not the Christ. Empathy is the extra sense, like touching, smelling, and so forth. Yeah, there's no divinity behind it. Doing with Christian Science practitioners who are female seem to think that if oh, bless their hearts, some of them are really nice and friendly, but they believe, and because I've worked with them and working with them and praying and have my own prayers come to fruition versus their methods, some of which are just absolutely ridiculous. It's a sense. It's a willful material sense. It's a sense. Empathy, in terms of willpower, in terms of humanity, in terms of as a material sense, is just that. It's a material sense, an electromagnetic extra. It's not the dross so much as it's the extra hand, it's the extra leg, it's the extra finger, and it's no more than that. It is not God. It's not grace. God is not any more ridiculously. God is no more the sun than He is the electromagnetic waves that flow around the earth in the day and then go into the cosmos at night. It is not those things. God has never been those things, and God will never be those things. God encompasses and sets those things in motion. What Mrs. Eddy says is that God is wisdom being, cause and effect. These are His attributes. I love that because that is truth. These are God. All that control, that willpower goes out of its way to express or impose upon you. They have none. It's not. Neither is it like God's, or has anything to do with God's. It is like boogers. Literally, it's just excrement or urine. It's not precious. It's not valuable, and it's not powerful. Hell being other people, you get rid of fear by realizing fear creatures. Creatures being, I guess, inevitably willful people. The disease that they impose through their suggestions, that they transmit through their influence. Being influential is not being a friend. Being influential and friendly and being a friend are two separate things. Love and like being two separate things. God being separate from mortal mind altogether. Being separate from Antichrist. Being separate from mammon altogether. It's just ridiculous. And as you walk on a spiritual journey, because spiritual journey really isn't so much a journey as you begin to really become yourself as you are, not as you're meant to be or anything. As you understand, you come to realization of yourself. As you begin to center yourself and find yourself as you are made, you will begin to identify, because you will start to get a clearer sense, because not so much a sense so much as you'll start to literally hear and get a consciousness and a kind of consciousness that can recognize good thoughts and bad thoughts. And it's a learning process. You trip up a lot, maybe, or you won't trip at all. A lot of you pick up for the first time will probably go flying through and pick up and find yourself just right, just as you are, which is the state of every man. Everything can be cured. The whole thing. There's no perpetuation of evil at all. If you stop it, even if you don't. All that's happened is just a mocking sense of mortal mind that has said, haha, I fooled you throughout your whole life. I made you waste all that time. People waste time with bad bosses at jobs. There's no time, but it's annoying. It can be annoying. And, you don't need it. So that's why this lecture, that's why this little article is going up, because it's something that I've learned, something that you'll have to come to terms with too. Because inevitably, everyone finds their own way, and being objective is how you find it. But you always find what's good, regardless of whatever religion or whatever dogma you're under, or mantra, whatever any of these things that you're under. You'll find the right thing. You'll find the thing that links you to this thought, to a thought that's similar to divine thought, to divine thinking. If not, you will inevitably find divine mind. And every culture has had it, because divine mind actually exists. God is real. Whether he's called God or whatever, it's the same one. I'm just going to say that because I'm not here to waste your time. So getting back to what's important. Okay, so you have the company. Number one, you have to understand that thing. There are 4 things you need to know. The first thing, that fear is a willful creature, the beast. Other people, their influence, their willpower, their energy, expressing itself, their energy, their influence, which transmits the radiation, which creates in you fear, which ultimately becomes that headache, which becomes disease, a cold, a heart attack, hemorrhoids, a foot fungus, a bleeding nose, any orifice that can bleed and make you fearful, but doesn't actually kill you, and inevitably the longer you hold off, fighting a tumor which can dissolve through understanding this, being good doesn't guarantee peace, which is important to understand. I should say this. I should have said this first. Being good doesn't guarantee peace. It's important to understand that bad things always happen to good people. And it's something you have to accept, because evil, as of today, as of the year 2008, evil never rests. Evil doesn't take a break. 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 And it's always sextacular. It's sexy, and it's stupid, and it's a douche, and because it's trained to be by their parent. People train their children to do this. They'll never tell you that they do. They do. Every single one that does this was trained to do this, trained and taught to do this through their empathy, verbally, paper, in a book, at an orgy. It doesn't make a difference, but it must stop. It absolutely must stop, and this is how you do it. Now, you walk outside the street, you go to Times Square. There's a big picture, there's a poster. There was for a time, I think it's down. There was a poster of Jameson. I don't know, that porn star. And kids are walking across the street. They're not allowed not to go. It's right there. Now, that's an example. That's an example of the reach of mortal mind, the reach of air. The reach of how far mortal mind wants to go to impose its bad ideas upon you, these things that you don't need. What's so bad about sex, some of you teenagers are thinking? What's so wrong about sex? Well, it goes back to who's in charge. It goes back to willpower, of course. You cannot, I'm going to say this a lot because this is very important. You cannot materialize worship. That means you cannot. You worship God, and as they say, you worship God, as it says in the Bible, in the New Testament, you worship God in spirit. As it said in the Old Testament, you worship God in spirit. You worship Him in spirit. That means you worship Him in the Christ, in your true sense, by doing your example, by silently praying. I'm going to get to that. It's absolutely valuable. I got to say, because it's key to healing. What Christian Science is about, absolute key to healing, which they don't teach enough. These things they don't say enough. They don't say at all. And it has to be said. And I've dealt with a lot of bad Christian scientists. I've dealt with many Christian scientists hell-bent on distorting the truth, limiting the influence and the power and the control of God in our idea. These things, it's impossible to do. You can't distort God. You can't shroud Him. You can just tell people that He's not real, and then hope to God, because once again you'll have to hope to God that somehow after you passed on, hell will be like Cheers. All you guys you can continue maybe having sex or continue taking drugs. What actually happens to you people is that it's oblivion. And I've been told this because I have been there. I've teetered on the brink between will and grace. And thinking I could work for God doing both. It's impossible. He told me. And he'll tell you, oblivion. You are gone. You're dead. He won't take the creator of the universe. Our sun being one of the smallest suns that we know of in the universe, one of the smallest suns. In a planet even smaller, much smaller than this sun. And then puny humans on this little planet. I don't know maybe they're talking